Take a moment to think on how your smartphone impacts your day. Maybe it wakes you up in the morning, or you use it to coordinate a ride to school. Perhaps you use it to check the time or check the score of the latest sports game. No matter what way you use your smartphone, it exists to make your life easier. To show that this is true, we will take you through a comparison on how it's like to solve a problem with a smartphone and how it's like without one. Let's say you want to know what events led to the Industrial Revolution. If you have your phone, all you need to do is take it out, Google it, and enjoy the vast amount of information at your disposal. Without the smartphone, it is much more difficult and time-consuming. You have to go to the nearest library and then check out a book on the Industrial Revolution. After that, you have to read the book, get the information, and return the book. Obviously, the smartphone makes it easier. But who started the smartphone revolution? The reason the smartphones were invented was to make accessing the internet easier to do. People wanted a device that could allow them to check their emails while being smaller and easier to access than a laptop. To meet the needs of the people, IBM created the first smartphone in 1993 and released it to the public in 1994. It was called the IBM Simon, and it costed $1,100. The Simon was much bigger than any phone you would have today. It had all sorts of applications, such as predictive typing, a calculator, and email access. Although these applications are basic today, in 1994 it was a big advancement. But how have these applications evolved over time to how they are today? Now let's take a look at what smartphones have evolved into today. Every phone has a touchscreen that you can use to navigate the internet. Most smartphones have only a few buttons to maximize ease of use: a lock button, a home button, and volume buttons. There are millions of applications, or apps, available of all sorts of varieties. There are apps for just about anything: games, social media, calculators, pictures, and more. It is like having a small computer with you wherever you go that you can also use to call, text, and stay intensely connected to billions of other people all the time. This connection that smartphones gives you allows you to share ideas with people all over the world. It makes collaboration with others so much easier.
So, in what ways does your smartphone influence your life?
I think, like many, it does become a little bit of a trigger. Oh, I gotta check it. Oh, I gotta check it. I have to see what's happening. So there's that factor. Let's just get that out of the way. And I think for me, the positive is the ready access to information. Got a question? Look it up. What's the weather going to be like? How long will this rain last? Look it up. So it can encourage being inquisitive, and I think that's really great. The downside can be it's always there, and there's always access to information. You have to really make sure that at times you turn that access off and get away from it. So that is a blessing and a curse.
So would you say it has both a positive and a negative influence on the lives of people?
Absolutely. And I think if you look back, the same has been said about television, and then before that about radio, and probably even about mass media tabloid newspapers. I would imagine you could find similar concerns being expressed about each of those technologies as well, in a different era.
Okay. How would your day be different if you did not have access to your smartphone?
It would be more peaceful, for sure. It would probably involve more face-to-face conversation. Now, I'm imagining a world, which I lived in, of course, where people didn't have them. If I didn't have one, I think I would feel isolated. Other people might express that they might feel free, though, so that can go both ways.
Okay. So in your opinion, what makes a smartphone different or special from other types of phones?
So I think internet access is certainly one of them, but it's also ready and easy access to a quality camera, both video and still, so you can always capture a decent image. And I think sort of what What's underlying that are all of the other sensors that are increasingly being built into smartphones that we don't realize we're taking advantage of, or that in the next 5 years we will see those will be leveraged and taken advantage of a lot more by hardware manufacturers, by app developers. All of those sensors that are in the phone right now can be so useful.
So smartphones have been around for about 20 years. How do you see them evolving and changing over the next 20 years?
You know, that's something that I've challenged my classes to do, is to redesign the smartphone, to get away from that shape that looks like a flat bar of soap. You know, what's the next thing going to look like? So right now the big push is into wearables. Whether it's Google Glass and it's something that you wear on your face, whether it's going to be the smartwatch or the bracelet, or will we as a culture / species be more open to having the same features that are in this embedded literally within our bodies? It's not something I'd be comfortable with, but you know that development is already underway. Even though Google Glass hasn't truly hit mainstream by any stretch yet, there's already real work being done on contact lenses that provide the same services that glass does, but then it would be much harder for you to know that I'm wearing it. And it would be less obtrusive for me as well. So I think you're going to see them change from this shape into something that can be worn, or at least something that's more customizable. The other area where people are working hard is in creating digital paper that can be colored, so you're not just dealing with a grayscale image, and then you could unroll your smartphone to whatever size screen you want. So your phone could also be a tablet, or it could be a really small phone. It just depends on how large you make that paper, how big you unroll the screen. That's what I'm waiting for with the iPad 11.
Thank you for your time.
Smartphones are only 20 years old, yet they've advanced so much. They have changed in size, shape, and have gained the ability to do infinitely more functions than they used to be able to do. We can send pictures to our friends at a moment's notice, or actually speak face-to-face with a relative in a different country. Smartphones keep creating new ways to make connections with other people easier. And it's only been 20 years. Imagine what they will be like in another 20 years.